It's time for the Las Vegas Sportsline. Brought to you by Caesars Entertainment, where every guest is treated like Caesar and every visit is unforgettable.
And here we go. It's the Wednesday edition of the Las Vegas Sportsline. It is brought to you by Caesars Entertainment. We'll find out about all the great stuff going on at Caesars and their partners throughout town in just a little bit. Teddy Covers is here. I'm Dave Cokin. Ari Platinum's producing our program. And Jeff Davis at @_Junkyard on Twitter. He is the director of trading at Caesars, and he joins us right now. Hi, Jeff. How are you?
Dave, what's happening?
Having a good time, getting geared up for a little holiday action, a little vacation down in Del Mar. It's going to be some good stuff. And are you getting a vacation this summer?
Yeah, that's funny. No, there's not going to be any vacation for me right now. Caesar's looking to expand in Indiana and Iowa, and that's probably coming in August. I'm going to look to go see our beloved Red Sox in San Diego for a weekend right before the football season starts. That'll probably be my lone vacation.
There you go. So while we're on that subject for a moment, as far as the spread of legalized wagering into other states, tell me how, because it's something we really, we're so used to everything running like clockwork out here in Nevada. Tell us about the process of setting up new shops in states like this and how you go about hiring people, and what's the whole process like?
Yeah, it comes from all angles, and, from the betting perspective, things that are legal in one state aren't necessarily legal in another state, so sometimes it's a challenge for our team to know what you can put up where and know, we have this market in this state and that state, but not the other state. Like, for example, we have NFL regular season MVP up everywhere but Mississippi. We've not heard back from Mississippi yet. New Jersey, you can't offer any of these New Jersey college teams, so you can't put the Rutgers or the Princeton or the Rider games up. So, there's a lot going into it, and it comes from all angles. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of excitement because as we get these more states, you get more college handle based on where everything is located. And, it's a good time to be in the sports betting world right now.
Now, what about the betting lines themselves? Is there an adjustment from what bettors are going to see in Nevada versus what they might see in another state? Or is it one line nationwide for these Caesars properties?
Right now, and the way we look at it, we deal one number. We have the option to deal different numbers if we so choose. And our future markets, we run one number. The only time, in my recollection, we offered a different number was the Eagles-Saints playoff game last year. We were dealing 9 in Mississippi and 8 in New Jersey, given the location of each teams. But other than that one game, always deal the same number.
I'll be really curious to see how that works out in college sports. For instance, if you use Iowa, for instance, University of Iowa and Iowa State University, in football and basketball, you would think that the local market is obviously going to be playing on their teams. That's what players usually do. But it doesn't necessarily mean that the big money will follow even in those states. So that's something I guess you have to monitor and just see how it works out.
Yeah, for sure. The next place to go is probably going to be Turning Stone up in western New York, real close to Syracuse, real close to Buffalo. So, we figure to take a bunch of Bills money, which frankly will be welcome. And, Syracuse will be popular at the windows in the basketball. So, again, it's all an adjustment. We see it. One example would be the World Series market in our Pennsylvania location. The Phillies have 9 times as many tickets as the second most team ticket count in the Pennsylvania World Series market.
Sure. When you're talking about the bets that you're taking outside of the state of Nevada, is there any wise guy action there? Is it pretty much public money and the wise guy action is coming here within the state confines? Or are you seeing, sharp money pouring in other states as well?
Well, in New Jersey, it's definitely a mix because mobile is available. With the mobile available, generally it leads to sharper play. Mississippi, currently, there is no mobile in Mississippi. However, there's a lot of casino options in Biloxi. So we do tend to see a little bit more sharp action in Mississippi than we do with Pennsylvania. We don't have mobile in Pennsylvania yet. The Pennsylvania market is largely public at this point.
Well, one thing that's going to be popular with bettors is going to be these NFL player props. And you guys are putting up a ton of stuff. I was going through the menu this morning because I have the app, and therefore I can view all this stuff. Everybody should have the app. Even if you don't have an account, you should have the app.
Yeah, it's like just put it on your phone. You can see the lines all day.
And you can kind of educate yourself in the process. So NFL player props available at Caesars, plus players to lead league in passing, rushing, receiving yards, position props, quarterback, wide receiver, running back, tight end, even some defensive props. Just a ton of great stuff out there. Not only an opportunity to maybe scope out some value, but it's just a lot of fun. Yeah,
for sure. We put out, we're doing it in 4 blocks. We put out AFC, NFC North props a couple days ago. Rodgers, Trubisky, Baker Mayfield, Beckham, etc. And we put them all up in our other markets today. Tomorrow at some point, probably around lunch, we're going to go with the AFC and NFC South props. Probably going to have, you figure to have somewhere between 18 and 25 props per division.
Wow.
And this release will continue throughout the end of next week. So there'll just continue to be more and more fun betting options here at Caesars.
And for somebody like me, I'll consider it fun because it's not something I handicap seriously. But we do know that, like for the Super Bowl prop sheets have now become the domain of a lot of sharp bettors. They spend a ton of time lining these things up and getting what they feel is an edge. Do you think the same thing's going to happen with some of these player props where you'll get a lot of sharp guys really getting involved?
Yeah, we've taken a few bets. Nothing too crazy. Mostly unders as expected. You generally hang these props a little bit lower than you might normally because of the injury potential, and being it only a 16-game season, if somebody misses 2 games, it's a big dent in the percentage of what they can put up. The one player we've taken over is Lamar Jackson. He was a really interesting one to price because he was, frankly, they didn't want to throw the ball with him under center last year, and now he's had some off-season time maybe to improve what he does. They signed Mark Ingram, who figures to be fresh. They're going to have a great running option. We hung this 26.79.5, which is an insanely low number for quarterback passing yards. We're up to 27.54.5. And, that's the one guy that we've had a tough time numbering, and we've taken some over money on.
Now, just out of curiosity, have you seen anything with the Ravens themselves? Are they just betting Lamar Jackson there, or is Baltimore taking team total or the season win total over as well?
Baltimore's been a pretty good mix in terms of season wins. The money is only $100 apart between over and under. So in that regard, you have people that think they're going to improve off last year with Lamar having some time under his belt, and then you have the people that are going to say, well, if this team can't throw, and in this day and age in the NFL, if you can't throw, you can't win. So there's definitely been 2 opinions here on the Ravens.
So the Golden Knights managed to put together a terrific team-friendly contract with Wild Bill Karlsson. And, all the Knights fans that I know thrilled about that move, but they're still over the cap, so they're likely to lose at least 1 or 2 guys. What is the impact of a Karlsson signing on the futures market for the NHL and the Golden Knights in particular?
Yeah, it's a great signing for Vegas. 8 years. They're going to have him for basically the entire prime of his career. And what an advantage it is for Vegas, because not only do you get to live in Las Vegas, there's no state income tax.
Yep.
And there's so many teams that have to put up with paying more guys more to get so they can get the same amount of money. I mean, what I saw was he's going to take home about $3.75 million a year net. If he was playing in Toronto or Montreal, it was going to be about $2.75. Huge difference. But as far as the cap goes, the Knights are $7.5 million over the cap, and that doesn't include whatever they're going to sign Gusev for, because you figure he's going to be on the roster. So they're going to have to get rid of probably 3 guys, and you look at maybe Cody Eakin and Colin Miller seem to be the obvious ones. They make about $7.5 million between the 2 of them. Another guy they might consider is Riley Smith. Yeah, he's a key part of the top line, but he's a $5 million cap hit this year and each of the next 2 years. he could probably command some value in the trade market. Another guy that's eating up a lot of the cap that probably is impossible to move is Ryan Reeves. He's the one contract that McPhee has signed that really is not good. Reeves makes $2.8 million a year last year and this year for essentially no production. Yeah, he's a glue guy and he brings a presence, but paying that much money for a guy that plays, 11, 12, 13 minutes a game, it doesn't seem worth it. So he's going to be a tough move. They definitely have some things to do, but McPhee will do something right. As far as the future market, it doesn't really impact it at all because they were already the top team in the Western Conference, in my opinion. 9-1 in the futures, second choice on the board. We stayed there. Interesting note about the NFL futures. Dave, I know you briefly mentioned the Arizona Coyotes last week. We lowered them to 30-1 last night from 50-1. This team is kicking the tires on anyone and everyone, and they are trying their best to make a big splash. They don't have a lot of cap space, but they seem ready to wheel and deal. We don't want to be left holding the bag when they sign somebody and we take a big futures bet.
Well, and I think there might be a feeling among some NHL free agents that that's a team that's on the verge of winning. And it might be a good chance to go down there and become, a big star in the community and help the team get to the promised land. They're not that far away.
I totally agree. We briefly touched on this last week. All that team really needs to be competitive is a guy that can put the puck in the net consistently. You look at their Corsi numbers and some of their advanced metrics, they were one of the better teams in the Western Conference last year. If they can get Ronta healthy for an entire year, this team has a lot of nice pieces, and Rick Tockett's done a lot of nice things. The Coyotes are definitely on the rise, and in my opinion, if they sign one guy, they're probably a favorite to make the playoffs.
Yeah, and they've got to do one other thing, win some games in October, because the last 2 years they've gotten out of the gate so poorly, they buried themselves. And it's one of the things I've got circled is that this team is going to come into this new season maybe with more emphasis on winning right away than anybody else.
Yeah, and it's been noted for a while now, it's very important to be amongst the playoff teams at Thanksgiving because I believe it's 75 or 80% of the teams that are in the playoff hunt at Thanksgiving make the playoffs. So, it's very important for these teams to get out to a good start. And like you mentioned, the Coyotes have been a train wreck in October. Maybe they right the ship a bit this year.
And the NHL schedule came out yesterday with what? The first game's October 2nd?
Yep. It's real early.
Yeah, and the NBA is now starting 2-3 weeks earlier than it used to. Does that affect your handle overall when the seasons start earlier, or is that just good for business?
It's just good for business because even if it starts earlier, there's still going to be games every night. The NBA seems to pack its schedule in real tight. Teams play 3 games in 4 nights so many times a year in the NBA. And what it leads to is guys not playing and the nonsense that happens with these lines going up and down all day. And to me, it makes more sense for the players and it makes more sense for the league to spread it out a little more, give these guys a couple more days off. I just think it's better for the sport in general.
Speaking of the NBA, the free agent limbo period continues.
Oh, it's silly season right now.
Yeah, and this is where, look, the odds makers, the house has a built-in edge as far as the VIG is concerned. But this is an area where the house doesn't have a built-in edge. It's an edge for the players who guess, and I guess you can say guess, but maybe that's not the right word, but guess right as far as where players are going to end up, because they can definitely get a tremendous edge as far as value is concerned. And you guys don't know any more than we do at this point.
You're absolutely correct, Dave. And right now, the way the futures look, it's just Lakers, Lakers, Lakers. There's 3 times as many tickets on the Lakers than there is on anyone else. And believe it or not, the second most tickets written on any team is the Denver Nuggets.
Really?
We've lowered from 20 to 15. I don't know what to make of it because they haven't really been a named destination for any of these key free agents. So I don't really know what to make of that at this point. There's been a lot of money on the Clippers. They're the second most. We all know that they're a popular destination choice, possibly for Kawhi. The Raptors are also taking some money because now they're saying he might stay. So outside of those teams, there hasn't really been much. And it's a market where you kind of know where these teams aren't going to go, and we're probably on the precipice here of moving some of these bad